Okay, so think about this for a sec. You know how we're always doing things without even realizing it? Like thousands of times a day.
Yeah, like what?
Well, breathing? It's wild how much it affects how we feel without us even thinking about it.
Absolutely, and that's what we're diving into today. It's all about understanding how you breathe and how that impacts you. We've got some great sources, including James Nestor's Respira, to guide us.
Right. So think of this as your personal deep dive into the world of breathing. We're going to sift through all this info and pull out the key takeaways, how we breathe, how it's changed, and why it matters for your well-being.
And here's a bit of a wake-up call from your sources. It turns out most people, like a whopping 90%, are breathing incorrectly. And that's not just a minor thing. It can actually lead to all sorts of chronic health problems.
Seriously, 90%. Okay, well, let's rewind a bit, go way, way back, like 4 billion years ago, back to the very first life forms on Earth.
Now that's a deep dive. Back then, microscopic organisms were already breathing in their own way. The atmosphere was packed with CO2, and these tiny organisms were gobbling it up.
CO2 guzzlers.
And as they did, they released something else, something pretty important for us, actually. Oxygen. Talk about changing the planet.
So from those early breathers to us, humans, it seems like the way we eat has played a big role in shaping how we look.
You're thinking of cooked food,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And how it made chewing easier.
Exactly.
Well, it had some ripple effects on our skulls. Over time, they adapted. Smaller mouths, weaker jaws, and, that prominent nose that sets us apart from other primates. That came about, too.
So basically, we traded strong jaws for tasty cooked food.
In a way, yeah. And speaking of food and energy, did you know there are two main ways our bodies get energy?
Aerobic and anaerobic, right.
Spot on. Aerobic uses oxygen, and it's way more efficient. Plus, it creates less of the nasty byproducts. You know that burning feeling you get when you're pushing yourself during exercise?
Oh, tell me about it. Like when I'm on a run and my legs just start screaming.
That's anaerobic respiration kicking in. It's for those short bursts of energy. Your body's saying, hold on, need more oxygen.
Ah, so that's the warm-up period, right? Getting that oxygen flowing.
Precisely. Your body's switching over to the more sustainable aerobic respiration. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Now let's talk about something seemingly basic. How we breathe.
You mean through our nose or mouth? Like, what's the big deal?
Oh, it's a bigger deal than you might think. Your sources highlight how mouth breathing actually messes with the pressure in your airways, makes things tighter.
Tighter?
Yeah, the soft tissues back there, they kind of loosen and narrow, making it even harder to breathe.
So it's like a vicious cycle.
Exactly. But get this, breathing through your nose, it does the opposite.
So it opens things up.
Yep. The air pushes against those tissues, and over time, they get stronger. It's like a workout for your nose. Patrick McKeown calls it a toning effect, encourages efficient nasal breathing. And your sources describe this intricate system. The nose, mouth, airways, and lungs, they're all connected, working together.
It's like a team effort. And your sources have all these cool names for the nose. It's like a silent warrior, a guardian, even a pharmacist for our bodies.
It's true. It's way more than just an air intake. And those intricate turbinates inside, they're the real heroes. Those bony structures shaped like shawls that warm and clean the air, slow it down, pressurize it, basically make sure your lungs can easily grab that oxygen.
Amazing.
Right.
Totally. It's like a mini processing plant. And get this, the importance of nasal breathing. It's not a new discovery. Ancient Indian texts were already onto it. And in the 1800s, George Catlin, this American artist, noticed how healthy Native American tribes were. And guess what? They were all nose breathers.
Catlin's story is fascinating. He was a mouth breather himself, dealing with health issues. When he switched to nasal breathing, day and night, his health improved drastically. Like pain and bleeding just stopped.
Wow, talk about a life changer. And it's not just about general health either. Carl Stowe, he worked with athletes, and he saw how focusing on exhaling and nasal breathing boosted their performance big time. They were breaking records.
It's incredible. But here's the thing. Olson brings up a good point. For a long time, medical science hasn't really focused on the mechanics of healthy breathing. We know a lot about respiratory problems, but not so much about how it should work.
It's like we're so busy fixing things when they break that we forget about prevention.
Exactly. And even back in the 50s, they knew the muscles involved in breathing were being neglected.
So let's break it down. What actually happens when we breathe in?
Okay, picture this. You inhale. Air goes down your throat, through the trachea, into the bronchi, which branch out into smaller bronchioles. And finally, they reach these tiny air sacs called alveoli. Hundreds of millions of them.
And that's where the magic happens, right? The
Yeah.
gas exchange.
Exactly. Imagine the alveoli as tiny docks, and around them, a river of blood full of red blood cells. Oxygen molecules hop off the docks and onto those red blood cells. Pretty cool, huh?
It's like a tiny delivery system. But there's another player in this, right? Carbon dioxide.
Absolutely. And this is where the Bohr effect comes in. Christian Bohr discovered that the more carbon dioxide we have, the easier it is for hemoglobin in those red blood cells to release oxygen to the tissues.
So wait, does that mean when we're stressed and breathing rapidly, we're actually doing ourselves a disservice?
You got it. By hyperventilating, we're getting rid of too much CO2. And that can mess with the oxygen delivery, hence the dizziness, cramps, headaches, even fainting.
So breathing too fast is actually counterproductive.
Interesting. And speaking of breathing rhythms, your sources mention how our natural rhythm ties into a sense of well-being. Yeah, that Paving University study from 2001 is fascinating. They looked at different meditative practices and prayers, Buddhist mantras, the Catholic rosary. Turns out they all hover around a breathing rate of 5.5 breaths per minute.
So maybe those ancient practices intuitively tapped into a rhythm that's good for us?
Could be. It might be why we feel calm and centered during those practices. It's not just about the words, but the rhythm itself.
So finding that sweet spot is key. This brings us to Konstantin Buteyko and his method, all about breathing less.
The Buteyko method. He had this radical idea that many health problems are actually caused by overbreathing, which leads to low CO2 levels.
So his theory was breathe less to feel better.
Exactly. He even created the reduced breathing test, or control pause, to see how breathless you are, how well you tolerate CO2. The core of his method is to consciously reduce your breathing, basically retraining yourself.
Sounds intense, but what's the point of breathing less?
It's all about increasing your tolerance to carbon dioxide. And when you do that, your body becomes better at delivering oxygen. You know that urge to breathe when you hold your breath? That's your body adapting to higher CO2 levels. It's not about holding your breath all the time, but making your body comfortable with CO2 so your breathing naturally calms down.
Okay, makes sense. But it's important to note that not every breathing problem is about low CO2.
Definitely. Pachman mentions emphysema, where there's actually too much CO2 trapped in the lungs. It's a reminder that breathing issues are complex, and the Buteyko method isn't a cure-all.
Makes sense. Each case is different. But hey, let's switch gears for a moment. Did you read about that visit to the Paris catacombs? Spooky stuff, but also fascinating.
Oh yeah, the skulls, right? Pre-industrial revolution. Large sinuses, strong jaws, straight teeth. So different from many modern skulls.
It's like a glimpse into a different era. And this isn't just some isolated observation. Ernest Houghton and Weston Price found similar things, right?
Absolutely. They looked at indigenous populations with traditional diets, and their teeth and facial development were far superior to people in industrialized societies eating processed foods.
And Price was all about nutrient deficiencies at first, wasn't he?
Right. He thought it was all about what people ate. But then he had this aha moment. It wasn't just what they were eating, but how. Traditional diets required a lot of chewing, and that's what was missing in modern diets.
So softer food equals weaker jaws and obstructed airways.
And we've come full circle. Smaller mouths, obstructed airways, and guess what? Makes it harder to breathe through your nose. It's wild how diet has actually changed our faces.
Crazy, right? So what can we do about this? Your sources talk about several solutions. First step, identifying any blockages, like nasal valve congestion.
That's where the nasal passages are too narrow. Simple test is the Cottle maneuver. Pull your cheek outwards, see if airflow improves.
And if it does?
Could be a narrow passage issue. Options like surgery, breathe right strips, or nasal dilators might help.
Makes sense. What about further in, like in the mouth?
There's the Friedman scale, which looks at the uvula, that dangly thing in the back of your throat. If it's hanging low, could be a sign of obstruction. And historically, there's been some interesting approaches. Remember Robin's monoblock? It was this retainer with a screw designed to expand the palate and make more room in the mouth.
And that helped with breathing.
It did. And straightening teeth, too. The idea was give the teeth more space, they'll align naturally. Expanding the mouth was a common thing in orthodontics for a while.
So what happened?
Well, orthodontics shifted toward extraction and retraction, pulling teeth back to fit a smaller space. John Mew has been criticizing this approach for a long time, saying it can actually worsen airway problems.
By making a small mouth even smaller.
Exactly. And this concern led to the creation of the Academy of Orofacial Myofunctional Therapy. They focus on fixing the root cause of small mouths and airway obstruction, not just straightening teeth.
So tongue posture, mouth breathing, diet, they all play a role.
Absolutely. And there are other appliances, like Belfour's HomeoBlock, which stimulates bone growth in the face, expanding the airway. Amazingly, facial bones can still remodel and grow, even in adulthood.
That's incredible. So we're not stuck with what we have. And breastfeeding too, right? It helps infants develop strong facial muscles and airways.
Definitely. The chewing and sucking action is like a workout for their faces. Some studies even suggest it's linked to fewer dental problems and breathing issues later in life.
Belfer even saw bone remodeling in the author's face. The body is capable of amazing things. So the takeaway here, our noses and mouths aren't fixed. We can change things.
Conscious effort, good posture, chewing, even mewing, that specific tongue posture, it all makes a difference. But we've been talking about slow and steady breathing, but your sources also touch on more intense techniques.
Like going beyond the calm and steady stuff.
Exactly. You've got things like irritable heart syndrome, which was observed in soldiers after the Civil War. Rapid heart rate, fast breathing, all linked to stress and an imbalanced autonomic nervous system.
The autonomic nervous system.
Yeah, it's like your body's autopilot, controlling heart rate, breathing, all that without you thinking about it. It has two parts. The sympathetic, which kicks in during stress, like hitting the gas pedal, and the parasympathetic, which promotes relaxation, the brakes.
Interesting. So short, rapid breaths are like hitting the gas.
Yeah, they activate that stress response. And Stephen Porges has this theory, the polyvagal theory, suggesting that many stress-related illnesses come from miscommunication in this system, especially in the vagus nerve. It's like a highway between your brain and organs.
And so breathing can be a way to communicate with this system.
That's the idea. By controlling our breath, we can influence our autonomic nervous system and something called vagal tone, which is all about how well our body can switch between stress and relaxation.
So the Wim Hof method, with its intense breathing and breath holding, is tapping into that.
Yeah, it's about pushing those limits. Proponents claim it can boost your immune system and make you more resistant to cold. But, as your sources mention, there are risks, especially if you have underlying health conditions.
It's interesting how similar practices show up throughout history, like Alexandra David Neal, who wrote about Tumo, a Tibetan breathing technique. It's said to have all sorts of benefits.
And one of her students, Maurice Tobar, even claimed to have recovered from a serious illness using yogic breathing. Pretty powerful stuff.
Definitely. And then there's holotropic breath work, all about intense breathing to change your state of mind. It's like using your breath to explore your inner world.
And let's not forget the link between breathing and anxiety. Your sources, especially Feinstein, highlight how poor breathing habits can fuel anxiety and how breathing exercises can help manage it. It's all about finding that calm amidst the chaos.
It makes sense, right? When you're anxious, your breathing gets all messed up. And figures like Swami Rama, who could control his bodily functions with his breath, or the Sudarshan Kriya, which supposedly increases energy, they all point to the amazing power of breath. It's like a bridge between the mind and body.
DeRose even sees yoga as a technology for controlling prana, that's life force energy through breath. It's a science of meditation and respiration passed down through generations. Pretty cool, huh?
Wow, that's a whole new perspective on yoga. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. Let's bring it all together. What are the key takeaways?
First and foremost, nasal breathing. It's fundamental. Your sources talk about how the author and Olson experienced so many positive changes just by switching to nasal breathing. Lower blood pressure, better CO2 levels, a more balanced heart rate. It's like a simple change with huge benefits.
And it's not just inhaling, but exhaling too. Carl Stoff emphasized this. Get all that air out, make room for a full, healthy inhale. It's good for everything, even athletic performance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's not forget chewing. It's not just about enjoying our food, but also about developing strong facial bones and airways. The skulls from the catacombs, Price's research, Mew's work, it all points to how important chewing is. And luckily for us, our facial bones can adapt throughout our lives.
So to sum it up, the 3 key takeaways from your sources are breathe through your nose, exhale fully, and chew more. It's like a recipe for healthy breathing.
Exactly. Simple but powerful. And with that, we come to the end of our deep dive into your sources. You've gained a whole new understanding of this amazing process we call breathing. It's much more than just taking in air. It's connected to everything.
Absolutely. You now have a deeper understanding of how breathing impacts your health and how you feel. And here's something to think about. Which of these insights resonated with you? What small change can you make to your breathing today?
That's the beauty of it. You have the power to breathe better, and that could lead to a better life. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep breathing.
And that wraps up another deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
Until then.
See ya.